Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
Good morning, Big Square. We're going to talk about silver today, a little bit of cryptos. Let's talk about, we are the last day. It's the last day of September, but there's action already. We already have an idea. I can tell you almost exactly how many ounces of silver will be delivered in the September delivery. Why? Because I've been doing this for 20 years, 21 years now. This is the price graph for 21 years of silver. In 2011, when the bad guys were losing control of silver, that's when JP Morgan had to come in and officially rig the market. Bill Daley, the SWAT team leader for Jamie Dimon, was put as the chief of staff of Barack Obama to assist in. That's how important it is. Silver is the number one most important asset on planet Earth. More important than treasury bills, more important than gold, more important than stocks, bonds, you name it. Silver is the bank killer. So is it important? Yes. Every single bank in the world will fight it, fight the free trading of it. Every single federal entity, every single country, government, not the people, but the governments, and they're all in on it. They'll collude on it. It is the mothership of control. You control the price of silver, you can control the price of everything. You lose control of the price of silver, you're fucked, basically. And that's where we're headed. We're heading towards the loss of control of silver. You have 170 years of price suppression. It doesn't end softly, quietly. It ends with a bang, not a whimper, shall we say. So yes, I rode these highs, rode these lows. Remember, the price of everything these days, since the 1970s, when Alan Greenspan implemented the first computer trading programs into our financial system and turned, passbook banking. Remember, you had a little passbook in your, I'm old. So you go to the bank, you'd make a deposit, they'd write down the amount you deposited, they'd stamp it, and then they'd write it in their book and they'd stamp it. All that changed with Alan Greenspan's computer programs to invent the electronic banking system back in the early 1970s, implemented by him and his mentor, a guy named Arthur Burns. That's why Alan Greenspan was put as head of the Fed in 1987 by Reagan, is because he controlled it behind the scenes. This is so important to know because there is no supply and demand anymore. All right, enough of that crazy talk, Bix. Tell me what's happening in the silver market. All right, let's take a look. Today started the delivery process for the September contract. September is one of 4 delivery months. 4 or 5. Let me see this. I know this. Let's see. 1 is March, 2 is May. There's 5. 3 is July, 4 is September, and 5 is December. Notice, and this is very important, especially because we are running out of physical silver. The rumors are true. The rumors of disappearing physical silver in 1,000-ounce bar forms is true. How do we know this? We look at the deliveries on the comics. Are they going up or are they going down? They are going down massively. The first one was in March, 11,680 contracts, over 55 million ounces. The second one, May, only 7,000 contracts, 35 million ounces. July, 6.6 or 6.7. What is that? 33 million ounces. And this time, I can tell you how much. First day was 3,800, of course. And you think, wait a minute, JP Morgan has been delivering. JP Morgan customers has been delivering the whole time. Is it JP Morgan customers, or did JP Morgan lease a hell of a lot of silver to other people? That's what is going on right now. JP Morgan's raking in the cash for their silver manipulation. So no, JP Morgan actually took 2,500 contracts of the 3,800. So who was supplying it? There we have it, Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley got caught with their pants down. Now, a lot of this is just a shell game. The silver in the warehouses, Morgan Stanley is one of the JP Morgan customers. So they trade paper contracts back and forth. Nobody knows the real amount of physical silver that actually moves in, or even who controls it. JP Morgan, 99% chance, has control of the vast majority of 1,000-ounce bars because they lease them out. They know ownership is 9/10 of the law. What is it? Possession is 9/10 of the law. What JP Morgan forgot when Blythe Masters got fired was, hey, there's third party risk, especially in these banking systems. But JP Morgan also knows that a too big to fail bank is just that, too big to fail. They can commit any crime, and the government and the Fed will bail them out. The big taker is JP Morgan. The big deliverer is Morgan Stanley, a customer of JP Morgan. Now, if you look at it, a lot of times, like Morgan Stanley, 2,700 contracts, almost 15, that's like 14 million ounces. But 2 months ago, they delivered, or they took in, they stopped, which means they're the ones getting the silver, 5,500 contracts. And you look before that, and it's like they pass these certificates back and forth. There's no real delivery. And most, if not all, of SLV is theoretically in these numbers. Even if the BlackRock doesn't care, what is done with the silver. The BlackRock controls SLV. That's the ETF, the paper silver contract. Jamie Dimon should end up in jail. The entire board of directors of JP Morgan should end up in jail. Remember, this is not a one-off criminal bank. This is a criminal enterprise. Who was the only banker for Bernie Madoff? JP Morgan Chase. The only one. The board of directors had to sign off on all those deals, and they did. And they knew exactly what was going on. I'm saying right now, it's going to be another small delivery month. Remember, it's been going down from 55 to 35 to 32. This one's going to be 20. So it went from 34, it's going to go to 28 million silver ounces delivered. Why do I say that? Because that's the game they play. The game they play can be seen on the deliveries. What is the deliveries? We are looking at open interest. So the current open interest as of yesterday, the final day, is only 5,528, which is really close to 28 million. That's where I get the 28 million. Now, interestingly enough, about 15 million ounces were paid off in cash yesterday. And you can tell that by the change in the open interest versus how much was taken away out of the delivered month, because they didn't have the silver. They didn't have the silver, so they had to pay it off in cash. So right here, we're looking at the smallest of the first four deliveries of silver on the COMEX. Am I worried about that? Everybody's like, oh, well, we'll get them. Silver deliveries are going to be huge. The silver deliveries are only transfers from one bankster to another, and then they transfer it back and forth and back and forth. JP Morgan has been told to stand down. They haven't been a participant. They haven't had a short position for over a year now in silver. It's pawned off to the JP Morgan customers. They all work together. They collude together to control the system. Obviously, the Treasury's in on it. The regulators are in on it. The judges are in on it. If you didn't know, there were judges, 2 judges that run the COMEX. COMEX has 2 judges, and they are both in on the scam. There's no way to stop the scam other than get physical silver in your own possession. And the good guys are going to have to stop it. And I think they are. So get your physical in your own possession. As far as the judges, we all know Judge George Painter, a longtime judge at the CFTC, Judge Levine, Bruce Levine, he won't find anybody guilty of manipulation, even if it is clear that the case is open and shut. It's an ugly war out there in the silver pits. Let me just tell you, get your physical silver today, please, today. I don't think the COMEX will be around by the end of the year. And that's the day that the too big to fail banks fail. Now, if they started up again, they would have to fix the old problem. The old problem is the volumes. Off the chart volumes, as you can tell, on Friday, 650 million ounces of electronic silver traded hands for no apparent reason. And then all of a sudden, Monday, less than half of that traded. Why? Silver is the most boring supply-demand story you've ever heard. Physical silver. It doesn't vary massive amounts. It's like 3 to 5% difference every single year in the amount of silver that's pulled out of the ground and the amount that's consumed. Well, actually, the amount consumed is growing at the same time that the investment story. The monetary side of silver is just going through the roof. This is the worst nightmare for the banking cabal. So look at all this as a gift. It is a gift that you can buy silver under $30. By the end of the year, you'll look at $30 and say, oh my God, I had the chance. I had the chance to buy silver under $30 and I didn't do it. I didn't pull the trigger. I didn't cash in some cryptos to buy some silver. I didn't rebalance my portfolio. Remember, you want to buy things when they are low in price and sell them when they are high in price, right? Okay, good. Glad we got that straight. Talked to my buddy. We were talking about the pre-65 coinage, and he's like, Bix, pre-65s are trading more than, it used to be called junk silver because you can get it sometimes less than spot. There's a huge demand for pre-65 coinage. Huge demand. So the premiums on pre-65s are going up, up, and up, and they're harder and harder to find. Why? Because they are the money of the United States of America. They are made by the U.S. Mint, and they're in small denominations. It's hard to counterfeit a mercury dime in silver because it just doesn't make sense to do it. You'd rather do the 100-ounce bars while people are still accepting it. There's so much counterfeiting and fraud that goes into metal. You got to buy from someone you know, and they're going to stand by the product. So that's where we are. It has happened before that pre-65 coinage, the premium started to jump. I think this is for good, though, because there is a difference between Federal Reserve notes and the money made by the U.S. Mint. The difference is the Federal Reserve notes are IOU from the Fed. So I see massive chaos for September. Get your physical silver in your own possession now, not tomorrow. I expect very big things from our friends over at Theta. They are doing everything right. I don't know what day it's going to pop, but I think Theta will be in the 20s by the end of the year, at least. It could go to my number, which is $88.88. All it takes is an announcement that, hey, Theta is on Coinbase now, and boom, we'll hit $88.88. I think that's going to happen this year. A lot of rumblings and murmuring that Theta is going to get on Coinbase and people can actually buy it in the United States. Otherwise, there are ways to buy, store, and stake Theta. Theta. It's a big one. All right. I think this is the lowest price you'll be able to buy silver. And it's going to get a lot scarier around 9/11 members are preparing right now. Bankster criminals and top 4 criminals on their short position, they are getting out of their short position. The best way they could do that is to slam the price, set up a Ponzi type of entity on the other end that will do the buying because they got to buy back their shorts. What I think is going on right now, probably the short is being transferred out of the banking system and into the hedge fund / criminal, the hidden system, the hidden financial system. BlackRock being probably the number one taker of those silver shorts at the moment. Because they can hide it and all their other stuff. That's fine. Whatever the next silver manipulation is going to be, we can track that down as well, and people will believe us sooner rather than later. Once the banks get out of their position, they can collapse the monetary system, and they don't have to worry. Well, no, the banks still have, $2 quadrillion in derivatives. So now it's all short-term games. So if you can get physical silver right now, go to your local guy and say, give me all the physical silver you have and let me load up my truck. Premiums are through the roof again. And yeah, let the mother pluckers play their game. As Bitcoin Ben would say, the mother pluckers. But it is a game. And there are no regulators. You need to remember that. This is going to be really bad for the regulators after the crash. They're going to come out and say, oh, it's the bank's fault that the system crashed. We need more regulation. More regulation is the worst thing we could offer humanity. Regulators are people, and they're just as corrupt, if not more corrupt, because they're coming from, a banker comes from a position of, I'm trying to make money. A regulator comes from the position, my job is to protect the little guy, but I'm actually getting paid off and protecting the big guy, paid off through jobs, cushy jobs when they leave the CFTC, which has happened time and time and time again, and the SEC time and time and time again. So I hope everybody understands that this is fake. All pricing is fake these days, even crypto pricing, fake. And at the end game, they're going to try to get the short position in silver as low as possible. Now, I don't think there's a huge short position in crypto. So the reason they're slamming crypto today is more, hey, look the other way. But we will see. I mean, cryptos are still doing very strong. There's going to be some pullbacks and then jump up. But I think cryptos has a better chance of moving up as the system collapses than silver, because silver has the huge short position, which the riggers are going to defend. But after the crash, silver has the best potential because of 170 years of price suppression. All right, this is what I want to talk about. I did get an email today that many patriots got about explaining how this whole system is going to implode, how the good guys are going to take out the bad guys. It's rather in depth. It talked about the emergency broadcast system. Tomorrow, we're going to go in depth into, is it this weekend that this happens? Is it next weekend? Is it next month, next year? And the specifics of that email that went around, and a lot of people got it. I don't know if you got it, but we're going to be talking about it on the private road later today. But this is part of the takedown. This entire $3.5 trillion spending plan. In 2010, I did an article on the private road about a Ron Paul interview. And I called it like the Insider or something like that. And I said, if there's one man in the world who knows when, how this is all planned to go down, it is Ron Paul. Although I don't think he was an original good guy, he was sure one of the foot soldiers in the early days and a close advisor to Ronald Reagan. So one of the key things I look for is when Ron Paul talks. There's clues how the coming collapse might transpire. With this information, along with research, I can piece together everything to make a complete puzzle. Ron Paul was the man. He's always been the man. And yes, most people these days only remember the older Ron Paul. If you look at Ron Paul's early debates, you're going to say, oh my God, this is the guy. We needed this guy, when Trump came in. But, they were both old guys. Trump had the asshole factor and had, something special about Trump that, he didn't care what people thought of him. He was going to do what he needed to do to save his country. And he did. And I think that is ongoing behind the scenes. But there was a really interesting interview with Judge Napolitano when Ron Paul was running for president back in 2000, I think it was 2009, 2010, something like that. And I analyzed that word for word back in 2010. And here's the things that Ron Paul said that I thought were really important and I think apply right now. He said, a lot of bills won't get paid. The checks are going to bounce. And we're talking about right here, the Biden stimulus plan. The Republicans are saying, we're not going to increase the debt limit. So right there, you can see how the checks are going to bounce. And that was always part. Ron Paul knew the plan at the end. He just couldn't make it happen. It wasn't his job. It was the guys behind the scenes. And finally, the guys behind the scenes said, we need someone like Donald Trump, the biggest asshole in America. And I mean, he does it for a reason. And personal experience, a guy I worked with negotiated the Trump helicopter. We had it on lease to him. The company I was working for, the bank I was working for at the time, the financial institution I was working for at the time, his job was to negotiate with Trump. And Trump brings him in. Oh, you're such a good guy. Wow, you're such a go-getter. Come on, come. Brings him to his fancy office. Just all pleasantries the first two meetings. And then the third meeting comes, and, it's when my buddy's like, okay, well, I got all the information on what he's going to have to buy this helicopter from us. It was a lease with a fair market value back end. So my buddy was in charge of negotiating with Trump. What is the fair market value of this helicopter? So he brings out this blue book. They have a blue book on helicopters. He brings it out and says, well, Mr. Trump, here's the data on what this is worth and the maintenance issues. You're going to owe us for a little bit of maintenance. We did an inspection, blah, blah, blah. The guy blew up at my buddy for like a half an hour. You're a shyster. You're a criminal. Just like night and day for, hey, I'm Donald Trump too. Just the blow up of all blow ups. And my buddy said, I had to walk out after like a half an hour of him screaming, and I was shaking when I walked out. That's the kind of asshole we needed to negotiate stripping away the power of the bad guys and saving our country. And that's exactly what Trump did. So bravo, Mr. Trump. Anyway, back to what Ron Paul was saying. The election is crucial to the future of our republic. Absolutely. I know Trump won the election. Well, all the Democrats can say what they want. There's so much evidence to it, from people pulling suitcases out from under tables to, you name it, and it happened. All right. Number 4, revolution can be a good thing. And Ron Paul talks about that. And I believe it. What is it? The blood of patriots. What is it? Those who sacrifice liberty for safety deserve neither. And I would ask every American out there to think about that when it comes to what they're about to do. And what they're about to do is they're going to try to mandate you have to take the shot, which that's scary. It should send shivers down your spine. It might be so big of a lie that the people will finally say, I've had enough. And then Ron Paul said the revolution will happen with a lot of turmoil. There is no smooth transition. I hope everybody understands that. It's going to be a lot of turmoil, expecting a financial collapse. We have to have a financial collapse. You have to lose your savings account, your checking account, your 401k, because otherwise they'll just rejigger the system with something like Nestra or Gestra and go forward, and the criminals still have all the power. We need something so big that it destroys the financial system, which is basically the derivative bubble. That's the destroyer. That's why Alan Greenspan fought so hard in 1999 to keep derivatives unregulated. It caused the 2008 collapse, and derivatives have just grown since then. It's going to cause the 2021 collapse. And the question is, will Congress bail anybody out? I don't think Congress is going to agree on anything going forward, which is good. U.S. dollar breakdown, U.S. dollar, and all fiat money are controlled via computer programs out of the Exchange Stabilization Fund, the Fed New York, and the basement of the U.S. Treasury. That's where all these prices are determined, including the U.S. dollar. People said, Bix, they'll never crash the U.S. dollar because they can control it with computer programs. Yes, that is true. They can control it. They will crash it when it is no longer in the United States' best interest to have that strong dollar, to have a world's reserve currency, to be that guy. And they get to pull the trigger. And the trigger's so easy to pull, oh my God. Trump almost did it with the takedown of JP Morgan on RICO charges for rigging the silver market. Ultimately, he let them out because they assisted in the continued manipulation, which I didn't agree with, but hey, Trump didn't want it to be his administration that caused the collapse. He wanted the next crazy administration to be in power when the collapse happened, and that's where we are. So hang on tight. Then Ron Paul said, because of our traditions, we can come out of this chaos quite well. Yes, imagine all the debt is gone. We're the largest debtor nation in the world. Of course we're going to come out of it well with no more debt. But then it's about how do we reallocate money? With our traditions, he's talking about the gold and silver as money. And that's what is in the Road to Ruta documents. And we have so much gold, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We have way more gold than we have silver in the world and in the United States. The United States has so much gold hidden all around. I hear the U.S. mints have made, I don't know how many, but I would say billions of 1 ounce or 1 ounce and smaller denomination gold coins, and are just sitting waiting. Now that's a deep rumor type of thing, but we have the gold. I've showed everybody all the gold spots, all the national parks that we lock up, wildlife preserves that we lock up, the Grand Canyon gold, obviously, the Chocolate Mountain gold, obviously. Yamash's gold is still out there, all in refined form. Half the gold that they found in the Grand Canyon was half was in the sand of the Grand Canyon, placer gold. But the other half was in already formed with a gold standard. I don't know how they're going to do silver. They might, they may not. Definitely get silver in your own possession. Silver, I think, will be too valuable to use as money because all the high-tech companies are going to be scrambling to get it. All the solar companies are going to be scrambling to get it, and it's just not going to be enough. They're not going to grab all the coins that the U.S. mints and try to. It'd be difficult to add silver back to our monetary system. Gold would be easy, but silver would be very tough. And then number 9, states and individuals will turn their back on federal government. Absolutely. There was no reason for a gigantic federal government back in the founding of our country, and it amazingly took over. Over 30 million people work for the government right now, directly or indirectly as contractors. It's just sad. And all this will bring back jobs, protect our borders, and bring back the troops. There's no reason any of our troops should be in any other country. There's no reason. Our job is not the protector of the world. That's how we get in this problem. The military-industrial complex takes over that shit. And then how close we are to silver breaking out of the manipulation, criminals going to jail. We just heard last week right here, Bloomberg, that the JP Morgan traders, the 4 traders, are going to have to face racketeering charges. Remember, JP Morgan Chase, the corporation, paid, $920 million to get out of this very exact racketeering charge. And apparently they're leaving their ex-employees to drift in the wind, which I have something to say about. But here's what was said. 4 ex-employees accused of spoofing precious metal markets. Bank fraud charges tossed. Wire fraud and other charges stand. A federal judge in Chicago said 4 JP Morgan Chase employees must face charges including racketeering in a case accusing them of manipulating the prices of precious metals futures. U.S. District Judge Edmund Chang's ruling on Tuesday paves the way for an October 19 trial in the case, which is the U.S. Department of Justice most aggressive attempt so far to police commodity spoofing. You might ask yourself, why isn't the CFTC doing this versus the Justice Department? CFTC, all they can do is slap people on the wrist and give them a fine. That's all they can do. The Justice Department can put them in jail on racketeering and all that. Prosecutors allege former Global Precious Metals Desk head Michael Nowak, traders Greg Smith, Christopher Jordan, and salesperson Jeffrey Rufo manipulated the prices of gold, silver, platinum, and palladium between 2008 and 2016. Attorneys declined to comment. In this ruling, Chain rejected the defendant's argument that the allegation that they engaged in single spoofing conspiracy was not enough to support the racketeering charge. Chain also allowed the other 11 charges to stand, including market manipulation, spoofing, conspiracy, commodities, and wire fraud. He cited other spoofing cases in which the judges allowed prosecutors to pursue those charges. The judge did, however, throw out bank fraud charges against Smith, Nowak, and Jordan, saying prosecutors had not pinpointed how or when they sought to deceive JP Morgan, because they did not seek to deceive JP Morgan. They were told what to do by the head of the commodities department, Blythe Masters, who was told what to do by Jamie Dimon. Why aren't they involved in this? JP Morgan agreed to pay more than $290 million, admitting to wrongdoing, to settle spoofing charges. Where's Blythe Masters? Remember the dates. They were rigging the markets from 2008 to 2016. She just said they double hedge it. They hedge it through JP Morgan, who in turn hedges it for itself. That's 2 hedges on one piece of metal. Classic example of someone hiding the truth. It's not part of our business model, and we don't do it. Quote, Blythe Masters, the bosses of these 4 guys up on charges. It's not part of our business model, and we don't do it. Remember, they're on trial for activities between 2008 and 2016. This criminal video was put out by CNBC in 2012, right in the middle of the rigging. Let's take a look at the criminal Blythe Masters. This is an article when she left in 2014. So they kept doing it for 2 more years. But the key is, when did she start at the commodities business? Blythe had been a lifer at JP Morgan. She invented the credit default swap issue that the financial system had a problem with in 2008. That was all her doing. She didn't invent it. She promoted it, and she was the #1 promoter of the credit default swaps, a way to use derivatives to rig and free up a balance sheet. And then she used her influence at the ISDA, which is the derivative swap entity that coordinates all this, to smooth out the problem. Basically paper over the problem. She is the problem. But let's take a look at, when did Blythe start at JP Morgan's derivative book? Commodities. Let's see. Blythe Masters. With the firm backing of Mr. Jamie Dimon, Miss Masters took over the commodities unit in 2008. No, look at that. It's 2007. 2007. Again, these guys are busted between 2008 and 2016. She came in, said, hey, let's use derivatives to rig the price of silver. Why isn't she on trial with these idiots? Why isn't she on trial? Let's see what else she got busted for. So she gets in there in 2007, and then it says, but she attracted scrutiny here. Last spring, Miss Masters was mentioned in an investigation by the by FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, into allegations of illegal trading in California and Michigan in electricity markets, which they did, and they paid a fine for. Investigators for the regulator found that JP Morgan had designed trading schemes that converted money-losing power plants into powerful profit centers, according to the commission document reviewed by the New York Times. In that preliminary document, investigators took aim at Miss Masters, saying she had made false and misleading statements under oath. Under oath. And you know, here's the sickest part of this whole thing. In 2013, September 25th, 2013, the CFTC, the regulator of derivatives on the COMEX, futures and options of silver, closed the case saying they couldn't find anything. So they were in there. This investigation started in 2008, right after Blythe Masters started at JP Morgan. They were there for 5 years until the statute of limitations runs out, and then they said they couldn't find anything. The Commodities Futures, the CFTC Division of Enforcement, has closed the investigation that was publicly confirmed in September 2008 concerning silver markets. The Division of Enforcement is not recommending charges to the commission in that investigation. For law enforcement and confidentiality reasons, the CFTC only rarely comments publicly on whether it has opened or closed any particular investigation. Nonetheless, given that this particular investigation was confirmed in September 2008, the CFTC deemed it inappropriate to inform the public that the investigation, or deemed it appropriate to inform the public that the investigation is no longer ongoing. Based upon the law and evidence as they exist at the time, there is not a viable basis to bring an enforcement action with respect to any firm or its employees related to our investigation into the silver markets. Are you fucking kidding me? And then here we have the DOJ coming down, JP Morgan paying the largest fine ever, 4 guys going up on RICO charges because they did it. And they admitted they did it. These guys are going to go get reamed, and where is Blythe Masters? She tried to go into cryptos to control the crypto market, and then one day she disappeared right after Christmas. It was a while back. Where is she? Where is good old Blythe? And why isn't she up on trial with these guys? Where's Jamie Dimon? I want to see every Jamie Dimon email. The CFTC had access to all this. They could have gone to all these traders' emails, text messages, everything. They could have gone to Blythe Masters. Obviously, you're investigating JP Morgan for rigging the silver market. The first thing you do is look at all their emails, all their texts, all their ways to communicate. And then you go to Jamie Dimon himself, the master puppeteer. JP Morgan Chase has paid more than $40 billion in fines to get out of problems. Is that the way we want America to run? The largest bank in the world committing crime after crime after crime, everybody going free except the little guy who was told by Blythe Masters that, hey, go rig the markets. Here's how you do it. Use my derivative programs.
And when she said, oh, in the blogosphere, they're saying we're rigging markets, I outlined at this same time, I called it on the road to root. It's called JP Morgan Operation Silver Slam. I outlined how they did it, where they did it, and why they did it. They started with natural gas beforehand, back in 2006, 2007. They rigged the price. They were trying to get it under control. What do? They introduced derivatives. The Fed gave JP Morgan the right to trade in natural gas futures and options. Jamie Dimon does what he does every time. You slam the price up, get everybody excited, get the weak hands in, and then you slam it down and slam it down and slam it down, and then it's under control. I pointed out then, I said that there's my buddy Bill Murphy, who had a whistleblower of the rigging. This is the guy that was in charge of the rigging in 2011 of silver. His name is Bill Daley. Bill Daley is the head man of Jamie Dimon's, what he calls his SWAT team at JP Morgan. How big is this? Jamie Dimon had to put Bill Daley as President Obama's chief of staff for a year in 2011 to rig the silver price. That's how big it was. I gave this I sent it to all the CFTC commissioners. They had all this information. They chose not to do anything with it. The only guy who had two guys had half a brain, Bart Chilton and Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler was the head of the CFTC at the time. Oh my God, now he's the head of the SEC. Chose not to do anything. Bart did everything he could, even came out and said JP Morgan was rigging the market. But the CFTC never shut the door. Why? Because Bart said it was a political decision not to do anything. So it's a political decision not to stop the rigging of the silver market. Welcome to America. And you wonder why we're all fucked up right now.
But hopefully, and I think this will happen in the next few weeks or months, truths will start to come out how much we've been played. And it's not going to be pretty. So yes, right now, buy silver under $25 is crazy. I mean, I probably, there'll be a bigger premium, but keep it in the small denominations. Pre-65 coinage is the best in my book. 1 ounce rounds, don't go over 10. Remember, when silver goes to $1,000, a 100-ounce bar is going to be $100,000. It's going to be really hard to cash in. So keep it low denominations, and you'll do very well, in my opinion. Silver is going to break away from 170 years of price manipulation, price suppression. I can't even tell you where the price is going to go. We won't know the price because the comments will shut down. But at the same time, it'll be extremely valuable in the future. All right, cryptos, same way. Cryptos are funny because the reason cryptos are running is there's no gigantic short position held by the big banks. So of course they're going to run, and the big banks are trying to get in, so they'll slam it down every once in a while to get some more. Remember Jamie Dimon saying, I'll kill you, I'll fire anybody that buys Bitcoin. And now they're one of the biggest bank Bitcoin controllers. They have a huge outfit. Hundreds of people working on cryptocurrencies. Well, he said all that because they didn't control it. Now they're getting more and more control every time they slam the price with their manipulations. Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan should be put away for life. I'm sure they will be when this shit falls apart and their $56 trillion in derivatives goes sideways. You can 100% blame him. Blame Blythe Masters, who hasn't been seen for a while. She might already be in prison. I don't know. A lot of these people kind of disappear. They don't tell you about it, but where are the Clintons? I haven't seen them for a long time. Not that I want to. At least the real version of them. Anyway, yep, cryptos are going to run beyond your wildest dreams. There's no viable huge short position that the banks have to worry about, so they can be allowed to run. And we need them for the future. The future is about high technology and space. You can't use gold and silver as money in space. It's too heavy and too crazy. But you can use cryptos that are solid, real, immutable blockchain, safe, fast, cheap. And Theta will run the internet. Theta expands broadband. That is so big. I heard in the new infrastructure bill, there's $65 billion going to just expand broadband, and it's barely going to scratch the surface. Why not have Sony or Samsung install a Theta Edge node on every device they sell, or Apple Computer, every device they sell, expanding, making it so seamlessly they can share broadband and earn Theta fuel. I am a buyer of Theta fuel these days over Theta right now because the ratio's up at like 22 to 1. I think it'll come down to probably settle around 10. It might overshoot down 5 or 6 to 1. But yeah, right now. And I still think Theta's massively undervalued. Theta will be the winner in the long run, but I think in the short run, T-Fuel has some more catching up to do. But both of them are going to be life changers for anybody who invests in them.
As it's getting crazy out there, crazier it gets, the more things will seem to piss you off. Take a breath. This is the birthing process of our new system, and it's going to get a hell of a lot worse before it gets better. Hell of a lot worse. As far as market rigging, as far as the crazy things they're doing to our military or want to do to our military right now. Citibank is involved, but and now Bank of America got involved. Bank of America could take the brunt of that pain, but I have no doubt it'll end up in BlackRock's hands. They have all the players needed to manipulate the silver market, all the government players, the trading arm of their silver, and they don't have to report like the banks do. So I expect the evil BlackRock to be taking over all this stuff soon. We'll see what silver is allowed to do. It won't be allowed to stay under $25 or under $30 even. Probably allowed to break $50 and then try to get it under control in the $60, $75 range, $80 range. And we'll see how well BlackRock does it. They will be assisted by our friends over at Virtu Financial, the computer trading arm of the cabal. You don't hear much about them. Vinny Viola runs that thing, and that's where they got their computer expertise. They all go through Vinny. Perfect name for a criminal like that. So keep an eye on that. Great article from Wall Street on Parade about, it's called 3 of the Fed's Wall Street bailout programs vanish from its monthly reports to Congress. Now, I used to keep track of all the bailouts that were going on. I gave it up because it was misleading. And everybody's like, what do you mean, Bix? It's misleading. You mean it's less than what you're saying? I'm saying, no, it's more than what they are publishing. They have infinity money to give away. Remember, what we see from the Fed is only what they report. And now they're trying to hide the reports from Congress. And Pam Martins and Russ Martins do a great job exposing that. Go to wallstreetonparade.com. And they're talking, oh my God, since, remember, Hank Paulson went to Congress in 2008 and begged for $700 billion. And then the banks can leverage it up to 20 billion. I think I don't even know what the total count was. People have done studies on that. It pales in comparison what's going on right now. And that is massive bailouts from the banks for the past 2 years. And they didn't go to Congress. So Jerome Powell, remember who Jerome Powell was. Remember, Trump put everybody in charge who was ultimately responsible, like Fauci and Jerome Powell. What his claim to fame is transferring the derivative book of Bankers Trust back in the late 1990s over to Deutsche Bank, which ultimately ended up destroying Deutsche Bank. And that's why they put Jerome Powell as the head of the Fed. He's knee deep in the derivative con. And those of you who don't know what that is, just go to the OCC, the Office of Control of Currencies, occ.gov, and read the quarterly report on derivatives. Here's the over-the-counter derivatives. These are not COMEX derivatives. These are extra derivatives that they don't tell you about. There's only 3 U.S. banks. Now, this is just U.S. banks. So, take it with a grain of salt. But JP Morgan, $34 billion in silver and other precious metal derivatives. Citibank, Citibank always has about a third of what remember, they all work together and they can change that thing in a overnight type of thing. They could just transfer all the derivatives to Citibank one day. Depends who's being investigated. But Bank of America is doing some crazy leasing program of silver through JP Morgan, because JP Morgan is the last one holding physical silver. And right now it's at $8 billion. That's all silver, I would assume. All silver, because BofA wasn't even up, didn't even register silver. Now these reports are from the first quarter because they lagged so long. So it's probably more now, but 8 billion is what? 8 billion divided by 25. Let's do the math. Yeah, I know you guys are like, why do you have to use a calculator for that? 8. Just say 25 bucks an ounce. It's 320 million ounces of physical, not of physical, of derivatives on physical to help control the price. Bank of America. So if they lease silver from JP Morgan because they don't have any, they got to do it. They have to report it on the OCC documents. So right now they're probably at around 300 million ounces of leased silver. Now, how much did JP Morgan have? They had over 1 billion ounces. So Bank of America is probably up about half of that now. And I'm sure JP Morgan knows third-party risk. Bank of America is a high-risk entity. And no, they would not be covered if they go down for their silver obligations. If they're leasing silver from JP Morgan keeps ownership of that silver. Bank of America hides it in their balance sheet, hides it in their books, but they have to pay back the physical silver. Now they've given that silver to all the ETFs and customers who have demanded it. So I don't know where they're going to get it, but that's where the game ends. So I'm looking for a bailout of Bank of America in September. We'll see. We'll see what goes on. But remember what Pam and Russ Martins are saying. There's massive amounts of money going to bail out the banks right now as we speak. Will Congress bail out the banks again? I don't know. I can't see it happening, but it almost didn't happen in 2008. Remember, the first time Hank Paulson went for the bailout of $700 billion, Congress said no. Stock market dropped by 50%, and then they bailed out everybody, and that's where money printing really kicked into the next level. Now, if this keeps going, and yeah, they can kick the road. If it does keep going, we could see into the trillions of dollars a day, which we're seeing in the reverse repo market. It could be the quadrillions, the Google amounts of money. And that's what Ruder wrote in the sand, print money to infinity. And behind the scenes, it's exactly what the Fed is doing, printing money to infinity and not telling us, but even what they tell us, they can't report to Congress because it's too embarrassing. So that's what's going on. Silver has silver bottom, probably. Down under $23, which is ridiculous. We all know it's ridiculous. Everybody knows it's ridiculous. The gold silver ratio is approaching 80. If you have any gold, you are insane to own gold. You are insane to own gold. Why? Because there's a better investment that is very similar, but has double the power, and that's silver. Take your 1 ounce of gold and go get 75 or so ounces of silver and help the silver cause. And at the same time, you're investing in monetary metals. As a matter of fact, the most popular monetary metal in history, no matter what the government says. Silver has always been money. Gold has not always been money. Silver has always been money. Gold is the bankers' money. Let them keep their gold. There's so much gold out there. There's 10 times what they tell you, 10 times. Certainly, you want your physical silver in your own possession. Physical silver in your own possession. Go to your local coin shop today. Today, compared to last Friday, knowing even Road to Ruta people, I mean, even myself, I admit it, when silver goes up, you tend to buy more than when it goes down, which is complete opposite of what good investors do. But right now is a time where people are going to start buying. So yes, do I think silver is going to run? Absolutely. What are the futures saying? Futures and options are saying buy, screaming buy. The only way to stop the price of silver going up is if the top 8 commercials, meaning the banker criminals, short on the rise. They have been desperately trying to get out of their shorts. As a matter of fact, they're at one of their lowest short positions in recorded history. Lowest. Remember, these banksters are criminals. They've been busted. they've been given a date. I know they've been given a date. Not just because I was told, because I was, but because it makes sense. They were given a date in 2008 as well. A lot going on. That's why these banksters are getting out of their position. They know something's coming down as far as regulators coming into the silver market. Truthfully. Anyway, very low open interest for the big silver delivery month. Remember, deliveries in silver are just banks trading back and forth pieces of paper, warehouse receipts. That's all it is. There's very few traders on the COMEX. A lot of people say, oh, there's thousands and thousands of traders making up a free market. No. The vast majority of this chunk of trading, which is insane. I mean, what does it average? About 400 million ounces a day of silver derivatives. It's just a joke. But 99% of it's just bankers trading back and forth from Virtu Financial, the computer rigging company, all working together, hey, we got to keep this game going, keep the shell going. But this is really low. I would expect by now there'd be 90 to 100,000 contracts. There's 56,000, meaning I think it means that there's very little physical silver 1,000-ounce bars to deliver. And if there's no bars to deliver, the banksters will back off. And there's no secret, the silver stacker guys and silver Reddit guys. That wasn't them doing it. It was the good guys. If the good guys come in, they can blow this thing out of the water with a click of a mouse. I can see the COMEX shutting down, all the exchanges shutting down, and chaos happening. That's what I see happening in the next couple of months. So hang on to your stuff, hang on to your physical silver, hang on to your cryptos. If you like cryptos, you're going to love Theta and Theta Fuel. I love cryptos. I got nothing wrong with Bitcoin and Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash. I got issues with XRP because it's the continuation of the criminal banking system. But I don't think the banks would stand for XRP. The banks look at XRP and laugh in their face. Now, the bad guy criminals, the crypto cabal and the deep state at the IMF and the World Bank, yeah, they are drooling on XRP. But I don't think they're going to rule our world after this crash comes. It's their fault. They're the ones that will be blamed. So if the banks crash, XRP is gone. Just keep that in mind. But I love all the cryptocurrencies, but the reality is, why invest in all of them? I've made that mistake before. Why not find the one that's going to be needed and necessary for the future? Which is, obviously, if you follow me, it's Theta. Theta is necessary for the continuation of the internet. If we like internet, we love Theta and Theta Fuel. Because I'll tell you what's going to happen. Yes, it's not fully adapted now. Not everybody's running in a node on their computer to share their bandwidth, but they will be. And it won't be them doing it. It will be Samsung and Sony and Apple embedding edge nodes into every device they sell. How would that do for expanding the broadband capabilities of the world? Brilliant move. Brilliant move. And then everybody would have Theta Fuel. And even the remote viewing guys saw Theta and Theta Fuel being used as money. Because everybody's going to have. So if they have a smartphone, an iPhone or a Samsung phone, all these companies, well, Apple hasn't announced yet, but all these companies are involved in Theta deeply. And I know everybody should know that the internet's running into huge problems. And most people have noticed the speeds in their computer just slowing down and slowing down. Pretty soon it'll slow to a crawl. There's congressional hearings about this stuff, and they don't have a solution. I mean, in the budget, I think a big chunk of money is appropriated for that. But we know what happens to money in a government budget. It goes to pay off people. It's not going to build a new infrastructure that will be obsolete by the time the money gets implemented. That's how big Theta and Theta Fuel is. So that's where we are. I do think that silver is going to run very fast from now through September. At some point, hopefully the COMEX will shut down. You won't know what your silver's worth. We're coming into that time where it's third-party risk is at an all-time high. So get ready for $100 silver, $200 silver. I don't know where they're going to try to stop it, but they're going to try to stop it and keep the markets open. Hopefully, they get washed away, which would have huge consequences if JP Morgan, Citibank, Bank of America all get destroyed because of silver, because that'll reverberate into everything else. They are all too big to fail banks. I mean, if they fail, everything fails. Get your physical silver, get your cryptos in your own possession, and why not own the best crypto out of all of them? I don't know any other crypto that will do better than Theta and Theta Fuel. I don't know any other.